Taxi driver. What comes to mind when you think of these two words? It's rhetorical, so don't answer it, please. For me personally, what comes to mind is someone that has a wealth of knowledge, be it fact or fiction, or gossip, or rumour. It doesn't really matter. Taxi drivers throughout the world are in a situation whereby they can accumulate knowledge quickly and easily. Now for me, in Almaty as a foreigner, I experience things a little bit differently, I think, than probably locals. In some things, as you probably can imagine. One of those things is the whole taxi experience. From the very first time I get into a taxi, not the very first time, from when I get into a taxi, as soon as the taxi driver recognises that I'm a foreigner, which as soon as I open my mouth, of course, the whole thing changes. And what I mean change for the good. Suddenly we had this, it's almost like suddenly we had this dialogue happening. We're talking about Kazakhstan, we're talking about Australia, it's all welcoming and friendly, and it's just awesome. So today, I want to share with you, not some stories, but perhaps my perception of Australia through the eyes of a Kazakh taxi driver. I call these confessions. Now the first confession is a simple question. How large is Australia compared to Kazakhstan? It's a pretty easy question, I think, to answer, maybe. We all know that Australia and Kazakhstan are both very large countries. In fact, Australia is ranked 6th out of all the countries in the world by area, and Kazakhstan is ranked 9th. So there's almost 200 countries in the world, so by any measure, both countries are very large. Everyone knows this, it's not disputed, it's not ambiguous, it's clear. But what is perhaps not so clear, particularly for the Kazakh taxi driver, is how much bigger, or even if it's bigger at all, is Australia than Kazakhstan? Because every taxi driver likes to think, well, you know, Kazakhstan top 10, can't be that much difference between 8th and 7th and 6th. But let me tell you, what do you think? Is Australia just a little bit bigger than Kazakhstan, or is it a lot bigger, or what? Anyone like to take a guess?
1.5.
1.5, yeah. Look, when you look at a map, it kind of looks not so much bigger because the map, though, is a little bit distorted. What you'll find is that Australia is 7.7 million square kilometres in territory. Kazakhstan, there it is there, Australia. Kazakhstan is 2.7 million square metres in kilometre. 2 million square kilometres of territory. So on the overlay, you can see that Australia is quite sometimes bigger. In fact, it is almost 3 times bigger. Now that fact, the average taxi driver is not aware of. Let's get to confession number 2. Climate. Now let me pose a question to you again. When you think of Australian climate, what one word comes to mind? Anyone? One word. What? Hot? Anything else? Desert. Okay, anyway, and that's understandable. It comes to my mind as well. As Australians, we actually call Australia the sunburnt country. And this invokes visions of beach and sand and sun and heat and desert, everything that you just mentioned, right? Well, it all depends, doesn't it? Because you see, Australia being such a large country, it can be affected by lots of different weather conditions at different times due to different geographical factors. Now we have a Tropic of Capricorn which runs right through about here, which basically means that everything around this line and north, so heading towards the equator, is hot. It's always hot. The only differentiation in the weather is precipitation, which is rain, and humidity. They don't have the 4 seasons like we do have here. They have wet season and dry season, but it's always hot. But now we look down here. All the areas in the southern parts of Australia are affected by this huge landmass down here called Antarctica. What that does is that it affects these weather conditions. It can be hot here as well, and it often is. But on the other hand, it can also be very cold. The Arctic currents and ocean currents and the wind streams basically make these waters along here freezing at all times of the year. And on the land, like I said, it has contrasting conditions, but it's more often cold than it is hot, to the extent that it even snows in these areas here. Now, it snows in Australia? Well, the average taxi driver is not aware of that, believe me. Next confession. Now this is my favourite one. If there is one thing that symbolises Australia more than anything else, it is this. What do you think I'm talking about? See, I didn't think you'd get that, but you know, you guys are better than the average taxi driver, obviously. Okay, that's it. It's the kangaroo. But I don't want to talk about the kangaroo today as such. Everybody knows about the kangaroo. It's pretty, you know, such a unique, special animal that everyone grows up learning about. I want to talk a little bit about what the kangaroo, how its status is in Australia, and how it is basically commands such a status from an international level. And I want to do this basically by sharing with you a couple of examples. And one of these is, as a foreigner in Almaty, or as anyone, if you're listening to some of the conversations that I listen to in a taxi drive, in a taxi, you would think that the word Australia and the word kangaroo are actually synonyms. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, let me give you a little dialogue to help you out here. Imagine you guys are in a taxi. This is not me now, this is you guys. Taxi driver's here. Where are you from? And you're sitting there, I'm from Shymkent. Taxi driver, Shymkent? And that dialogue is actually one of the million that you'll have in your lifetime. Not a dialogue about Shymkent or not something that you would say to a taxi driver, but a dialogue whereby when the answer to a question is then repeated back in either an exclamation, Shymkent, or as a question, Shymkent? Now, compare that to my experience in a taxi. Вы откуда? Я из Australia. Kangaroo? This is a true story, and this happens more often than you would think. And what is happening here, I don't really understand it. I really don't. But all I can imagine is that the word kangaroo has transcended its own meaning. It is now means other things. And that shows to me what the status or the reverence that the kangaroo has. I wasn't moving my slides there. Kangaroos. The average Almaty taxi driver just loves them. Okay. Probably, that's it. Probably today you've either learned something about taxi drivers in Almaty, or maybe you've learned something about Australia. Or maybe you haven't learned anything. That's what I'm guessing, because you guys are pretty all switched on. From my experience here, and I've been here quite a long time, I understand that you guys, including all your fellow citizens on the street, even the actual average taxi driver, are very well educated and you're very well informed about events, more so than the average person from another country, particularly Western countries, who I a little bit ashamedly say we're a little bit ignorant about a lot of things in life. That's just how it is. But you guys, that's one thing you cannot say. You're not ignorant about general things. And I think that is something which should be applauded and celebrated. And I think that you should be very proud of that fact. And it's something which something that's a great thing, and you should be very happy about that. So, thank you.